Hi everybody, so welcome to our session 7. So far we have covered 6 sessions wherein we started with introduction, then we had Git training. So right now we all have learned to do commit, push, pull, keeping the repository in sync. And based on that we started our Java training. So we understood object orientation, we understood data abstraction and inheritance. In our last class, we talked about Java polymorphism variable shadowing. So today we'll be moving ahead with the concepts and we'll be going to data types. We'll be going to list, array list, how that entire thing works. Then we'll also cover what is boxing, auto boxing, and int, integer. There is other stuff. So do you want, before we start the class, I would just like to know what all you want us to focus on, if you have specific thing in mind. Uh, Narendra, do you want to learn something specific?
Yeah, actually, after completion of Java, I don't want some trainings on HTML, CSS, JavaScript and all, but I want you to focus on like Node and Angular, and also I'll be happy if you give me brief idea on Spring and Hibernate.
Okay, sure. We can cover that. That's not a problem. We'll have the brief session on Spring and Hibernate as well.
Yeah, like approximately uh, like 5 to 6 sessions on an overall for those two.
We can keep 2 sessions, 2 to 3 sessions for Hibernate and probably 2 to 3 sessions on Spring. So let's see how much time we have. Because after
Yeah.
finishing Java, we have to finish one database which is MongoDB. So
Yeah,
in
yes.
industry, you have to know one database very strongly, one programming language very strongly, and one UI technology. So for the same, we will be covering the AngularJS and UI database. We will be covering MongoDB, and for the middleware, most strong for currently and stable in job perspective is Java, and then the latest would be Node. So we'll try to cover probably the vast scenario, vast technologies. So it's easy wherever there is any requirement, whenever you should know and you should be able to get the job quickly.
Sir, are you going to discuss web services?
If you want, of course, we should.
Yeah,
We can take a couple of sessions on RESTful
rest
web
and so on.
services. REST.
Yeah.
We have to do that because once we go to Angular, before that we should know how we are going to consume the RESTful web services in the UI. So we'll go through when we'll make one application in Angular, we will have login screen and some dashboard loading up, which will call these REST services for the data. We'll be submitting the form and everything will happen, which will ultimately go to the middleware through REST services and then it will persist the data in the database. That's what our target is. So, do you guys have any questions from last session or any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay, so let's go. So last time you asked about the list, array list, and all that. So first we'll start today's session with that only. So let's get started. Let me make a package list. List. Inside the list, I have to make a class. So first let us try to understand what is data type. So in any language or in any database or wherever they have some predefined data types which are used as a placeholder for the values. So for example, in JavaScript you called it number, number, and if it's not a number, then it's NaN. NaN. I'm just giving you a concept basically. However, in Java, there is nothing like number, but they have segregated it as integer. So all the values which are complete, 1 or 2 or 3, natural, right? So you can see one bird or you can see two bird, but you can never see 1.5 bird or flower or whatever, right? So all those which are whole or complete whole numbers which do not have anything after decimal, it comes in the integer. So you can say birds. So you have, so whenever you're trying to define a data type, you will have first what kind of data type it is, then you will have the variable name, then you will have the equal operator and assignment. So by default all these values would get null, or you can initialize it with null, or you can put any values. So there is a compiler check. If you put the correct value in correct format, it's okay, otherwise it will not even compile. So now understand what is how you will like to denote your decimal values. For example, share price. So share price fluctuates a lot, and even the difference in dot zero zero whatever impacts, because there are millions of shares, so it impacts the value a lot. So overall value in transaction. These values might be called as float. So once it gets AND, you have to denote it by F. These are the floating point variables or float variables. Similarly, you have Boolean. Boolean would be anything which is true or false. So why Boolean came from binary. Binary means 0 or 1, and Boolean is also 0 or 1. 0 or 1 means true or false. So either it is absent or present, true or false, whatever. So we can just name it as a flag. So I'll also let you know about a concept called as feature flag, wherein you can define it as true or false. And then there is some way which if you don't give the value, it takes the default value as false. Like there is some default value at level which if you don't assign it, it will take that value. And we can always check that out. So we will do PSVN. So mainly these three values. Then we have string. So string can be anything, a name or a value. So interestingly, string is immutable. So in interview, they generally ask what is string pool, what is string buffer, and what is how it is immutable. So mutable and immutable, there are two concepts. Immutable means which cannot be modified. Immute, right? And mutable means modifiable. So just try to remember, mutable means modifiable, immutable means non-modifiable. So how language works, that there is only one object for a string. For example, I say Java training. So this entire stuff from here to here becomes one object. For example, if I will modify this string, then it will be a different object altogether. So in the program, if I go here and then do something like, now you will be wondering why this is red, why this is not getting compiled. The reason is this class is static. Static means so there are two ways. First is whenever you make a class, the class has to be instantiated, which means its object is required to be created. Once the object would get created, then only you can access the variable. That is object oriented. Second is flat hierarchy, no object required, which is out of the object oriented system, is called as static. So static is available everywhere. You don't have to create the object, or you don't have to follow the object orientation. This is again very common interview question and a very deep concept to understand. So as soon as I will make it static, and this will start working. Look, this has started working. So we will not make it static, rather we will try to create the reference type. So we will say object, then we will say new, then we have this and the constructor. Now this would be called as object.new. So it gets compiled. So this is the concept. Now we need to figure out what's the default value of boolean. So it is trying to complain. See, non-static field flag cannot be. Yeah. So it is not static. So there are two ways. Either you make this static or you use it with the object reference. So this cannot work because this is not the object. So you have to use the actual object. Inside the object reference, you can use this and super. We learned that last time. So here we have the object. Now we'll try to run it. So the value which if you don't give any value to anything, it will be a null. Now let's try to run this. Now it will be false. So the concept here is there are two kind of uh, placeholders for the value. First is the raw value or the root value, which is small b boolean, which gets something default, and second is a wrapper. So wrapper is, this is again a common interview question. So you can say bird and then you can say animals, AMIMALS, animals, and you have 5. So this also represents a number, this also represents a number. Then what's the difference? Why are there two ways? So this is the wrapper type basically. Integer is an object, and inside the integer it takes the in the constructor type of any number, and then it converts it. So you can go to the class integer. Let's go to Java docs. Whenever you need to learn such things, you can do Java docs. Say Java docs integer. So this will let you know the entire hierarchy, how that class looks, what are the methods there, bit count. So integer class has so many methods. So there is also something which is called as conversion. So even if you try to pass a string and want to convert it, when you will work on web services, from the parameters, everything is passed as a string to the middleware, whatever the web service stuff is in the query parameter. So that string for that string is first required to be converted into the number or integer. So that's how there are some values like int value. So we'll see the example that will make you help understand. Let's say there is something called as value of, and you can pass any string. So then it will try to convert the string value and then it will give you the number equivalent of this. And there are some other methods also here, method details. You can convert toString, just like toString method, there is binary representation of the number also. So you can call that method toBinaryString. Now let's go to its constructor summary. So I was talking that integer takes so normal int gets passed and then it becomes integer. Once you define the integer, it will give you lot many other methods. So just to understand, we will say ani animals dot. So these are some different methods which are available in int, but once we make it as birds, then you see there are so many methods here, because this the integer is kind of object. So whatever method we understood last time, wait, notify all, everything, so it gets available to the object, because its parent is object class. So you get all the methods from this, and then you get the compare to, double value, equals, and other host of methods also with the integer. So you can always convert the int into the integer. How to do that? Let's try to understand. Integer a new integer animals. So what has happened is whatever was the value of, or you can always give the direct value, any number. This is perfectly valid. So you are trying to convert the basic data type into the object type integer. It's the basic data type int, and then you passed it inside the constructor, and then you got the proper value here of integer. So this is how it works. Now you can always try to pass the string value, and it also works. So as I was telling you that if you will do any shopping or any websites, you will see there is some query string. This is called as query string, this part. And this part's query string will have some of the query parameters. And then each query parameter has its respective value. So each respective value, by default, this entire stuff as HTTP protocol is a string. So once this is passed and it comes to the backend, from the backend you have to convert that string, parse it, convert it into the number based on the number. One example is you want to see, okay, I want to see top 10 product of this category in Amazon. So somehow if you will do those shopping over there, you might find, and limit is equal to 10. So this 10 will be the number, and you can see it as limit or number of products. So number of products whatever you need could be 10. So we learned that in the web services or backend, where whenever we learn that session. So it comes to that handler function, and then that handler function will convert that string value into the integer proper number, and then the operation can happen. You can do plus, minus, addition, whatever you want. So this is, let me just roll back, or I can just push this for your reference. So here we converted So we got to know about now coming back to string. So string is nothing else but the array of characters. So string is immutable, means once the object is created and you will point it to something else, then new object would get created. Same object is not modifiable. Object.name name. So when you get number or when you get addition or subtraction, so to make it more clear, we will go and we'll say I have an integer with sum is equal to 0. Now if I do sum plus plus, so it is going to add the value. So the summation or whatever will happen, it will happen here in this object which is pointing to here itself. This would get modified. But in case of string, this variable, so Java will have this in the heap. Now what is heap? So learn this basically whenever you guys go for interview. Before that, what is heap Java? So heap is nothing else but a place in the RAM of the computer in which all the objects lies over there. So in last lecture I told you about hash code. So hash code gives you the location or the pointer where that object is sitting in the heap. So heap would be memory space or the area wherein everything gets fitted over there, and based on that the data structure like the queue and the array, so we might cover that or might not cover that depending on the syllabus. But so there are different kind of structures by which you can iterate over the collections. So one way is that one there is something called as queue of numbers. So one block of data, let me open some diagram. This is actually very frequently asked questions, so I can cover that. So array list is a dynamic implementation. We are going to learn that soon. But for concept or understanding, we will understand what or how a queue works. So this would be one, and this would be another, and then this would be another. So what to use when and something like that, this would be another. So this is your memory heap, whatever white stuff I am the canvas, you can just think of it as a memory Java memory heap. And each location is this box, let's say address, the memory the film, whatever theater, A1, A2, A3, whatever the seat number is defined, something like that. So this has two part of values, and then it would point it to the next guy. Oops, sorry. So this guy will point to the next guy. So this guy will have its own value, and whatever is the next value, it will point it to the next guy. This is the implementation of queue, and this is second. This one is third. This one is fourth. Okay, enough. So now what will happen is when you do a for loop or any looping, which is called as iteration, So you go to this guy, and then this guy will give you the location of next guy. Then you iterate over to next guy, and then next guy will point to the next guy. You will read the value, and then you will go. So if you are trying to search, let's say these objects are all student objects, and they are being put into the queue kind of format. So there are hash table and other stuff also. Let's just try to focus on this. So we will go next, 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 something like this. So the memory location would come, and then the student by for example, the student is here, then it has to iterate all the students in the class to reach here. So for searching, queues are not very effective data types, but for deletion of stuff, this is very effective, which means if you have to remove these three objects and need to go to 4, you can directly connect it, the address here. So all these whatever is in here, it might get
Sir,
rejected. Yeah.
sir, I think in queue when we delete the uppermost, the last one, the first one which has been inserted, that will be deleted, no, sir.
So the queue, the first one
I
which,
think this one which you are telling comes under linked list, because if we first inserted the first block which you are showing pointing out, that will be deleted when we want to delete.
yeah.
But we can't delete the three without deleting the first block which is inserted.
Yeah, so this is the linked list implementation of queue. Basically, queue can be implemented in different ways, right? When you're trying to implement your custom implementation. So what we did is that we have first is this one, this the starting of the queue, and you're iterating, but they are being connected through the linked list. As you said, that is right. Now, if you have to remove, the center 3, you just need to change the pointer, and this will point it to here, and then the rest uh, then you can iterate basically, and once the iteration will happen, these 3 would be removed automatically. These 3,
Okay.
right? These 3 are not there. So same way there is stack, there is FIFO, first in, first out. There are different strategies, but the implementation can happen it in a linked list. So in some of the interview, they will give you to implement this on your own coding practices. So how do you implement it by yourself? That is something, if you want to try it in today's assignment, you can also do it. You can create your own object which will get the value of itself, an object reference of second one, and then this will hold object reference of another one. And once you have to delete something, you just put the object reference of whatever object you just want the pointer to. So it's a simple program. We will make it in some of the class. Within 5 to 10 minutes, the concept would be clear, and it's very pretty straightforward to implement. So let's try to understand about the list and linked list. So these are normal data types, whichever we learned, and the object and the boxing. This thing is called as the boxing. Basically, you are boxing the integer int value inside the integer, and you are doing the conversion, everything. So in Google you will find several example, theory, practical, everything. So you can take it ahead from there. Now we will try to learn about the integer array basically. So just talk about this. You have int, and then you say num, and if you just have to make it an array, you have to do nothing but do something like this, and then you will have integer value. This is simple. So what you are doing, you are telling this guy that it will have 3 continuous location assigned in the memory heap, and you will call it by the index. What is at the index 0, index 1 and index 2? This is 0 pointer start. So for 3 values it will not go with 1, 2 or 3. It will go with 1, no sorry, 0, 1 and 2. Whatever is this, that minus 1 probably, because it starts with 0. So this thing becomes an array. And then there is something called as array list. So there is a concept which is called as generic. So generic means, now in this is an integer array basically, but you can make an object array and you can fit oranges and apples and everything inside it. But when, okay, let's try to, but in the array list you have to, whatever one type you will define, you can add only that types when you try to use generic. So you can define the object what you want to keep inside it. You can make string, integer, float, whatever. So we'll go, we say al, and then we say array list, then there is constructor. So the constructor takes the optional capacity. You can give anything, but it is dynamic. But in this it's not dynamic, which means you will see a very common error which is called as index out of array. So we will try to reproduce that error and then we will understand how that works. So we will say each one of has some number. So how to access it is, let's make it static just to save typing. However, it's not good practice in object orientation to make variable static, because it skips the objects, right? If it would have been object, I have to say obj dot, with the dot notation I have to access, but right now I just skipped it. So it's a static, so we don't have to do obj dot something like that. We'll just access it directly. So on this location you can add something, add 0. Let's say we will try to add our ages. So one guy has 22, another guy has 20, other has 26. This is called as index based. Now if I am trying to add, let's first run this. There is no problem. Now if I try to add my age here, and then let me run. So we see error. So this is what I just wanted to reproduce, this error. Since it is index based, you should upfront know how much value you need to put. So the advantage is, if it is not dynamic, you already know it saves a lot of memory in programming or heap or whatever. So it's more efficient, more faster. However, if you try to take this guy, the array list, how you will assign values, and then there is a kind of no limit. You have to, you might give the optional initial limit, otherwise you don't have to give it, and you can add as many as value you want. You don't have to upfront uh, let me make it static. You don't have to upfront decide on how much value you might be required or provision it. So we'll do add. You can say duplicate, replicate, whatsoever. It would not throw any errors. First let's clean this error, then try to run this. So program runs fine. That is the biggest benefit. Another benefit is you can automatically get sorting on this, the natural sort, collection dot sort. There are some so you have 13, then you have 300, then you have 23, something like that, which is not at all in order. So you see everything falls in order. 3333, 300 comes last. And the by default this has happened. If you will not do this and then if you will run, so you will see all the jumbled things. Whatever way you inserted initially, that order might come up, or it can internally can also change order. That's not guaranteed. You can also do a reverse sort. What happened to this? So what happened if you don't have the import statement over here? You will get an error. So I'll just try to reproduce what problem we were facing before. So let's try to comment this. Now this is not able to understand what this collection class is. So it applies everywhere. Whatever you need to use, you need to import. And there could be multiple, implementation. So which one you need to use, you can define that. So you can have this class also for yourself, and then your error for this might go, and then you can always have your own reverse method over there. So
Sir, is there any default size that ArrayList will create, like default size for the array?
so I think it takes 10 and then it increments on the 10 10 10, something like that. We will just confirm. Just a moment. So in different versions, 8 or whatever, it's different, but it is 10. Default capacity of array list is 10. So first it will allocate the 10 spaces for you, and then later on it will allocate next 10 spots. So even if you are using 11 spots, it will provision it for 20. And the problem is it is putting everything in this heap. Now once you make it 20, it will combine two blocks. It will cut all blocks from here, and wherever there is continuous space available, it would keep it there. Once you will uh, reach to 21, then it has to do same thing. It will try to combine three blocks, provision this value, and wherever that value is available, it would keep there. Because there are case once your memory heap is going this way, the fourth block can be occupied by some other variable, whichever would be the recent one. Just let's a space like this. So these three are contiguous slots, and this is some other variable. So as soon as you make it 4, it will combine them, paste it, find some other efficient location, keep it combined, and these guys can point to each other in the for loop in index based or whatever. So that is how this guy will work. Now we will just so you have the collection class basically. So what we were learning here is this import. You can write your own implementation of this collection class, or you can implement. So how people in project do it? Okay, this is saying cycle. So there is no default constructor available in the collection class. So the concept which we were trying to learn over here is we are trying to extend the collections class. So whatever features it has, we can modify them or we can add something more on top of that. And in the subclass, we have some additional features. So all the frameworks or all the different collection classes is provided by Google Guava also for maps and dictionaries and everything. So they try to extend it, and then after extending, they will provide you some more features and functionalities. Now this guy is saying there is no default constructor. So there are few classes which are called as final basically, or they're private. They have a private constructor. Private constructor means it become a singleton, which means you cannot instantiate that class. Now if we go with the hierarchy, parent needs to come before the child. So if this is this guy's child, and this child has so whenever the object for this gets created, its default constructor would get called, but then it has to call this guy also. And this guy, since its constructor is private, no one else can instantiate it. The child cannot instantiate it. So they have intentionally make the constructor private, so that suppressing default constructor, ensuring non-instantiability, so that people should not screw up their class. They could have also made it as final and something like this. I cannot type here, it's there. But once they do final, the subclassing should not happen. There are two ways to achieve this same thing. So just imagine if this would have been some other class, you can extend it, get the same functionality, believing it's available. The framework allows you to modify, which means it doesn't have a final or the private constructor. Then you can add those features. So for this example, we will just go something like this. We have our own class, whatever this class, it should be here. Collections.java. Collections is already defined in compilation unit. Let's try to call it collection 1. Okay, collection 1. We don't want to use it for now. So we have collection 1. But what's the problem this guy is having? Let's regenerate it. Okay, now this is good. So it would have the sometime the IDE they behaves crazily. So the same thing we were giving it before, but it was not liking it somehow. So since it's at the same package level, or it could be from whatever jar. So same package guys does not need the import statement. It's visible already from there. So it has got the access to this collection, and then you can either create the default, and then you're good. You can use this, and inside it, so some people do association or agree. So another way, if you cannot extend a class, what you can do is you can still people are smart basically, so they have different ways of tweaking stuff. Okay, from here you cannot invoke the constructor also. You have to use it statically. So you can say collection dot collections. You need to import this. Okay, now we are good. Why is it having some issues? Let's get it from here. So we are trying to make a util method basically. So what util method will do? Okay. So we need to keep it inside a method. We will say custom sort. So we will have a public, and then we say my sort. This will be your method. This will return you something like ArrayList, which would be generic of integer, and then you can pass something over here, and then so now this will work. Why it was not working before? Because in Java you cannot code directly inside the class. You have to code everything inside methods. So that is why if you do the same thing outside, you will get trouble. That's how language is designed. So if you will give anything here, then that thing will get sorted inside your my sort, and then whatever is the value, we will say 10. So I am trying to make you learn about how custom implementation of util class or anything works, wherein they try to leverage the functionality of some other frameworks basically, whatever is the framework. Now it says required array list java.util.integer found void. Okay, no problem. So what we are going to do is we will say temp list. Whatever is your list, it would get sorted, and then you can return the same. I'll just finish the hands-on. I'll prove that this works, how this works, and then we will. Code is not formatted properly. We can format it, but first let's try to make it run. So I have my own class, and my own class has one implementation of sort. I will try to make it static so that I don't have to create the object. Then I come here, and once I come here, I will say, so the result would be same, but the way we implement would be different. So we say, what's my class name? Is collection1 dot my sort. Let's do this first and run it. There is one boolean value also coming. Oh no, now it's not coming. So we have this guy all jumbled up showing up. Now what we did is we have our own sort algorithm implemented behind the scene, which will sort the stuff for us. It takes some parameter, we satisfies it, and then we try to run it. Oops, my bad. Look, now it has given this. So instead of reinventing the wheel, now in the projects you might use specific something to employee sorting, bank sorting, whatever your project would be. But what you can do is you can come up with the util class. These classes are called util, and then you can collect all these small methods, which could be sorting, which could be conversion, which could be anything. And then you can use some frameworks, different libraries. So here we use java.util.collection. If you have to iterate over map or whatever is the common functionality, you can keep it there. Since you cannot extend them, first we try to extend it, but the framework does not like to tweak it, so they made it private constructor. So we were smart enough, we want to get that functionality, so we got it in some other way around. So the util class methods, basically they will have some group of your project specific methods, which can aggregate all different algorithms which are available out there. You can put it in one, and then you can always call it as refactor rename collection utils, and this would be your utility methods. Utility method, usually people make it static so that every time when you have to use, you don't have to instantiate it. Second is, in util method you don't hold the variables here, something these kind of variables. So in object, first day I told you that there are two things. First is behavior, second is the state. State means the whatever value you assign it to a variable. When you don't want the state, then there is no, it's only the behavior. So if behavior can go statically, that's not a problem. So generally the static gets used in the util classes. So we have this util class over here. So your assignment would be, you have to do sorting, reverse sort, and everything. Create your own class, create your own methods, and you will find the details on the Java doc. Basically, once you will go to the collection class, inside the collection class you will find everything. So go a bit deeper, and you will also find the how do they search. So don't go that deep at advanced level of your binary search and anything, iterate binary search, but it would be good to go with simple thing like the reverse, how they are trying to implement the reverse algorithm. So this is their algorithm of reversing and swapping. So there will be two homeworks for you. First is you need to implement a sort algorithm in Java, wherein you will be given a list. Let me type the homework. So you are given an array list with 10 different numbers without using the sort algorithm. Your method should sort the numbers and print it. This would be your coding exercise. So if I know you guys will do this, but I'll also implement it real quick tomorrow for you guys about this. Second is you need to extend, you need to leverage the collection class and do reverse sort. So this is capital C, collections class and the reverse sort. So in here it's a low hanging fruit. You just have to grab it, the algorithm. So behind the scene, I don't know how they implemented this, but I had my own util method from where I was able to take it. So same thing would be your hands-on practical session for tomorrow. Fine. Any questions for you guys?
Yeah. Yeah, hello sir. Like, could you give a could you please give us a quick description on what all topics you are going to cover in Java?
Okay. So we have to cover. Today was our sixth session. So we have
Yeah, yes, sir.
7, 8, 9, probably 10 and 11. After that we will move to, probably here we will have assignment. So today we had data types and collection class.
Ah,
Now we will learn about comparable and comparator interface. That would be tomorrow. We learn about comparable and comparator interface. We learn about maps in Java and hash table. After that,
Sir, please discuss also about hash code and equals.
that has to come. Without learning that, you cannot implement these interfaces. That would be
Oh,
implicit part. Because if you are
okay.
trying to go hash table, you must know how hash code is implemented. So that will be covered here. And then we'll have collections, maps and hash table, comparable and comparator. After that we have to do threads, threads. Threads. So this will be probably 2 sessions or one entire session would go in multi-threading. Mm, and generics. So generics we try to cover something of today, but you can learn on your own. We will cover some of the generic features also. Generics over here, and exception handling, error handling.
Serialization.
Yeah, we can do that. That is also important and simple.
yeah, like, uh, won't you be discussing on JDBC, sir?
So what we are planning to do is we will connect it with the Mongo driver, Java with the Mongo database driver. So once
Yeah,
we
okay.
will pick up Mongo class, then first we will learn Mongo and then we will connect it with the Java. Right now for the assignment purpose, you have to put things in memory in the array list. But after this, we will start Mongo. So there will be 2 sessions on Mongo database, 2 or 3, whatever. So by this time, we will be connecting the Java to the Mongo driver, and then we'll be making the operation. So this assignment, mm, what was this assignment I thought of? Just give me a moment. This was the library management. You will have books, you will have students, and then you will have other entities. Books can be assigned to students, and then they can be capped. There would be some fine if you return or delay or something. So your program should be able to manage everything, from how many authors, how many books are there. So initially you will keep it in memory, but later on you have to put it in the database, Mongo database, and should be able to fetch that how many books belong to particular author or to a particular subject. So this will be done. So probably this will be 13, 14 and 15th session. So once we'll reach here, after this we have 15 sessions more, probably 15 sessions more. Inside it, which 5 session might go to Spring plus Hibernate, and remaining 10 sessions we can take 2 sessions for RESTful, and then we'll see, like we have to place the Angular, since we will not take any separate sessions for HTML and CSS, so we'll save some time over there. Fine. Okay, so I'll send you the recording link for the and then this would be the homework. I'll drop an email in some time. So we'll start with the homework submissions first. I'll try to see how do you implement the sorting algorithm on your own. You're comfortable taking this task, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, sure. So that's not a problem. If you guys are not able to finish it, I will implement it in front of you, so you will learn. But just try on your level best.
Yeah, like in tomorrow's class, will you be covering all data structures, sir? Like stacks, queues, dicks, linker lists, and all.
So we will not go in that way, but we'll go with maps, hash tables, trees, and whatever are the standard, provided by Java. We will go with that, which is more practical and usable,
Yeah, okay, sir.
right? Because if we start going through each linked list and all vector, so there is vector also, which no one uses in practical implementation. So we'll do something which will, help you to do hands-on here in the assignment. Like you have to have the maps, basically how maps work, how hash table works, all those things, so that we can cover this stuff, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.